Hey everyone, welcome to this Lunch and Learn. I'm so excited for this series and to have Nesha with us today talking about automating your creative process and for your business. And so if you're new to Lunch and Learn, I'm Jamie, the designer behind Spruce Rd and owner. And I have this weekly workshop. It's about to end next week, but we're going in season. So weekly workshop where we just gather with other creatives and talk about their process, kind of tips and tricks that they have for you guys to take away that you can take action today. There's no pitch at the end. It's just kind of a fun, informal hangout so that you guys can walk away learning something new on your lunch break. Today we have Nesha. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a minute, but she's been an online friend of mine for a while and someone that I followed for a few years, and she's the genius behind Freelancers Club, if you're familiar with that community. It's a great community that I'm a part of. And she's the queen of all things systems and processes and organization. And I've taken away a lot of tips from her on this very topic. So I can't wait to see what she has to share today. Nesha, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, hi guys. I'm Nesha from neshadesigns.com. I'm a brand new website designer for passionate women who want to stand out online and start attracting their dream clients. And I also help other creative freelancers to build, grow, and streamline their businesses through blog posts, books, and workshops like this one. So I've been a designer and blogger full time for about 4 years almost this year, and I've gone through quite a lot of different systems, processes, and automations. Tried a lot of different things, and finally landed on just systems and automations that really work for my design business, and have allowed me to just sort of simplify my business so that I can get on with the more important things. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, is automations and how to simplify your business. So shall I go straight into the slideshow, Jamie?
Yes, let me actually just say one thing. If you guys have any questions throughout the workshop, feel free to ask those below the video. Otherwise, there's a chat on the sidebar if you guys want to just informally get to know each other and introduce yourself. That's there for you as well. So we'll get to those questions at the end. We won't hit all of them because we want to be mindful of your time for your lunch break. But go ahead and start presenting, Nesha.
Okay, I'm just going to put on my slideshow. Okay, so how to automate and simplify your creative business. So we're going to show you 9 ways to automate your business, and I'm also going to talk about quite a few ways to simplify your creative business so that you just have a lot more time and freedom to focus on the more important things in your business and in your life. So we're going to automate these 9 things. So the first one is turning blog posts into newsletters. The second is scheduling social media. The third is scheduling pins for Pinterest. The fourth is feedback reminders for clients, then project templates, instructions for clients, meeting reminders, because we all know how sort of frustrating it can be when clients and collaborators forget about meetings. So we're going to automate that. And following up with clients, and also automating invoice reminders, just so that you don't have to go through that awkward phase of constantly emailing clients, reminding them for payments, because that's not fun. So the first automation that I wanted to talk about was turning blog posts into newsletters. Because if you're anything like me, I don't know if this is the same with you, Jamie, but there was a time in my business journey where I would manually paste my blog posts into MailChimp to send them as newsletters, which it kind of seems like a tiny task, but it's just one of those small pesky tasks that can kind of just take up time that you could be spending on more important things. So I've only used 2 newsletter systems in my business journey so far. The first one is MailChimp and the second one is ConvertKit. So if you're on MailChimp, it's really, really easy to do this. All you have to do is create an RSS campaign in MailChimp. So you just go to MailChimp, new campaign, RSS campaign. And then basically all that happens is when you post a blog post, MailChimp will just pull that post into a newsletter and then send the newsletters on the schedule that you specify. So what I did back when I used MailChimp was I sent blog posts on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. and I just basically set up this RSS campaign so that I would publish the blog post at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, and then at 3:30 the newsletter would go out. So I didn't even have to touch MailChimp really, other than just going in and checking my stats. And the second way to do it in ConvertKit, which is what I use at the moment, and I know it's what a lot of people use now. All you have to do is go and create an RSS broadcast automation inside of ConvertKit. So below you can see a screenshot from the ConvertKit website itself. And all you have to do is go to automations in ConvertKit. And then under the trigger section here, you just click new RSS post. And then it will say, after you've selected a trigger, what action should that trigger create? And then you just select broadcast draft. So what will happen after that is every time you publish a new post on your blog, it will be pulled into a draft in ConvertKit, and then all you have to do is just send it. So that's what I do nowadays, and that just stops me from having to, paste in my blog posts into ConvertKit and then faff around with the format and the images and stuff like that. So that's one super quick automation. Automation number 2 is scheduling your social media. So I schedule social media, this may sound a little bit crazy, I schedule social media posts 3 months ahead of time. So at the moment, I'm 3 months ahead in my social media schedule. And it doesn't even take that long to do, really. All you have to do is just take an afternoon out or a day out, depending on how many social media posts you want to publish each day, and just listen to music and schedule your social media posts that afternoon. And honestly, when you've completed it all in an afternoon, you won't then have to worry about making sure that your tweets are filled up, or making sure that you've got things to post on Instagram each week, because everything's just done and sorted for you. You can forget about social media and just focus on your client work, or just focus on replying to other people's tweets and social posts. So the tool I use to schedule my social media is CoSchedule, which is probably the best tool for WordPress users. I don't use WordPress myself, but I know that if you are in WordPress, with CoSchedule, you can use it as, my spelling's not very good here, but you can use it as an editorial calendar as well as a social media scheduler. So what will happen with CoSchedule, which is really, really cool, is you can schedule your blog posts and your social media posts in the same calendar, and they'll all publish from the same place. And what's also really great about CoSchedule is, what I think is great about it, is that you can color code your social media posts. So if you've got like regular posts and you've got launch posts and things like that, you can give them different colors so that you kind of can see if you've got enough social media posts scheduled for launches and things like that. And you can also use Buffer, which is just $10 a month. And you could use Edgar if you wanted to, which is a bit pricey, I think. I'm not quite sure. I think it's something like $49 a month. But it's really cool because it reuses the social media posts that you've published before, so that you just don't have to keep creating new social media posts, which is really cool, because that's just a whole new level of automation. It really means that you don't have to spend as much time in social media. So my third automation is scheduling pins for Pinterest. I think you can do this in Buffer and scheduling tools like that, but I prefer to use a different tool. So people think I pin quite a lot, or it looks like I pin quite a lot, and people think that I'm on Pinterest all the time to do it, but I barely spend any time on it, and even though I don't, I still have about 10k followers. My Pinterest following grows by about 15% each month, and I also get hundreds of visits from Pinterest to my blog every day. So I managed to get that much growth from Pinterest without barely spending time on it. And the way that I do that is by using Board Booster, because for about $30 a month, depending on how many followers you have, what it will do is it will loop your pins, which means that it will repin your oldest to newest pins on a schedule that you set. So you can go into board boosting, you can select like 10 new pins. You can like schedule it like 10 new pins per day, for instance. So it'll just go through all of your boards and repin the oldest 10 pins every day on a loop. And yeah, that way you can basically like never ever go into Pinterest at all if you don't want to, or you can just spend an hour in Pinterest each week. But if you use something like Board Booster, then it means that you can just completely automate your Pinterest marketing, but still reap the rewards of gaining a lot of blog traffic from it. So automation number 4 is automating feedback reminders for clients, because I think in freelancers this is something that we've talked about quite a lot as well, because I think for a lot of freelancers and creative entrepreneurs, getting feedback from your clients can sometimes take quite a long time. But if you use a project management tool like Basecamp, you can automate your feedback reminders. So what I've got here is I've got a screenshot of, it's just a quick screenshot of one of my projects in Basecamp. And if you look at the third task down under this branding to-do list, it says feedback is due, and then it will have the client's name here and it will have a date at the side of it. So what Basecamp then does is it will send a feedback reminder to your clients on the date that you've specified their feedback is due. And if they don't provide that feedback, or if you don't check off that task from your list, it will just keep on reminding them every day to provide the feedback. And I found that that was a really, really great way of just getting feedback on time from my clients, because sometimes the projects could run over the deadlines because clients would take days or sometimes over a week to get back to me with the feedback that I needed to continue the project. But when they keep getting reminders like this from Basecamp, they then, like, it's less likely that they'll forget to provide feedback. And it's also not a nuisance to clients, because clients genuinely do want to be reminded of things like these, because sometimes they just forget. So that's a really great way to automate your client process. So automation number 5 is creating project templates. And again, it's kind of based on Basecamp, which is the project management system that I use. But I think that you can create project templates in lots of other systems too, like Freedcamp and things like that. So if you sell service packages, then you probably follow a similar process for every project. So for me, for instance, I sell 3 packages. I've got a website design package, I've got a luxury branding package, and I've got a standard branding package. So because I only sell 3 packages, I don't create custom quotes very often for my clients. It means that I'm going through the same process and creating the same items for each one of my clients. So instead of having to manually go into Basecamp and create a new project for every single client with a brand new to-do list and new tutorials and things in the Basecamp project, what you can do is create a project template that just outlines the process that you always go through and already has the to-do list that you need inside your project. So inside my project, I've got a to-do list for branding, a to-do list for website design, and basically any other design processes that I go through. So I don't have to think about what the process is for each design process when I go through it, because it's already outlined in the project template. So automation number 6 is automating instructions for clients, because what you can find is when you're talking to clients, you tend to answer the same questions a lot. So you end up giving the same instructions to clients, offering the same advice to clients. And instead of typing that out to each new client every time you have a new client, what you can do is just put it into a welcome packet. So inside your welcome packet, you could put in there anything that you kind of consistently talk to your clients about. So that could be your office hours, answers to common questions, your process, guidelines for good feedback, and anything else that you find that you're always talking about to clients. So, I mean, Actually, I might as well just quickly show my welcome packet. One sec. Okay. So I won't show the whole thing, but this is my welcome package, and this is the first page, and it just outlines what I include in mine in case people don't quite know what they want to include in it. So mine basically states my office hours up front and my email address up front, just in case my clients need reminding of my office hours, because sometimes some clients can expect you to email them on evenings and things, but if you outline your office hours continually in emails and also in the welcome packet, then they won't forget. And I've also included in mine a checklist of things that I need my clients to complete before the project starts. My process, so that's my step-by-step process for everything the client can expect to happen during the project. And I also include a few instructions on how me and the client will use Basecamp to organize their project, because for us as designers or creative entrepreneurs who consistently use the same project management tool, it can seem very easy to use, but to somebody who's never used it before, you have to remember to provide instructions for them. And it's kind of not great if you have to keep giving instructions over and over again, typing them out every single time you have a client. So all you have to do to just automate that process is just include your project management instructions inside the welcome packet. So in mine, I've got a few quick instructions on how to use Basecamp, but then I've just got a link to a video on my website where I just screen share an example of a Basecamp project, and then I just talk the client through each feature of Basecamp. And then the last feature of my welcome packet is feedback guidelines. So I basically just list about 5 different points that will help my clients to provide me with really valuable feedback that will help to push their project forward in a nice, organized way. Okay, let me just go back to the slideshow. Okay. And the 7th automation is meeting reminders. So there was a time when I would schedule meetings with my clients. So I'd schedule Skype consultations and things like that. And sometimes, because life is just busy and people just forget things, sometimes my clients would forget about the meeting that we have. And that would result in me sort of losing time in my day that I could have spent on other things. And it would also result in us having to reschedule the meetings. So to stop that from happening, I use Calendly. Say it right, Calendly.
Which is how I say it.
Which is just $10 a month. So that's like £6 to anybody who's a Brit like me. And it just basically sends confirmations and reminders to people who schedule a meeting with you. So since I've started using that, nobody that I've scheduled a meeting with has forgotten their meeting or missed it. And if they want to cancel their meeting, they don't have to email me about it. They can just go right into their Calendly email notification that they've received when they booked the meeting, and they can just cancel it through there. So that really helps automate that process, because what I would have to do back then was manually email my clients about a day before the meeting, just to kind of remind them that it was coming up. But if you use something like this system, then it just saves you from having to worry about doing that. And then we've got automation number 8, which is following up with clients, which I know is something that, from talking with a lot of my freelance friends, it's something that can kind of get forgotten about. And if you automate it, then it'll be done, sorted, and out the way. So I find that if you rely on your own memory to remind you when you should be following up with clients, you'll most likely forget, which is from my personal experience. Before I automated this process, I would forget all the time to follow up with clients. So I'd end up finishing projects and then never really getting in touch with them again, or I'd end up getting in touch with them a bit too late. So what I do is I follow up with clients who've disappeared after about 5 days. So that's the clients that have gotten in touch with me about their interest in a project, but then haven't responded to my reply. So I wait 5 days and then I follow up with them. And then with past clients, I follow up 30 days, 6 months, and 1 year after the project is complete. And to remind myself to follow up, I use Streak, which is a client relationship management add-on for Gmail. So what that basically does, I'm trying to figure out how to sum up Streak in like a few sentences because it can be quite complex. But basically, you just add it for free to Gmail. I think you just go to streak.com. Download the add-on for Gmail, and what it will do is it will let you create processes for clients and things. So I have an inquiry process, and I also have a current client process, and that's right within Gmail itself. And so it will store inquiries in the inquiry process, and it will store my past clients and everything in the processes that I've created. And it will also allow me to create follow-up reminders for each client. So when the project has started, I just basically set the 30-day, 6-month, and 1 year reminder right at the very outset. And then that just allows me to kind of forget about following up and not have to really worry too much because I've already scheduled it in advance. But if you don't want to use a CRM tool like Streak, all you'd have to do is set up follow-up reminders in Google Calendar. And in Google Cal, it allows you to, in any of your calendar tasks, it allows you to set a pop-up reminder or an email reminder for when the task is due. So if you just do that in Google Calendar and set that for, say, 30 days after you've worked with your clients, remember to follow up. If you just set those tasks in Google Cal, then I promise you that it will result in you remembering to follow up a lot easier than just trying to do it from memory.
Can I ask you a question about that last slide?
Yeah.
What do you follow up with on past clients? You said 30 days, 6 months, and a year. Is it for testimonials, or what kind of things do you reach out to them for?
No, I ask for a testimonial almost like pretty much straight after the project has ended about just the process and me as a designer and how we got along and things. And then 30 days afterwards, I'll get back in touch and ask them if they have any questions about, say, for instance, it's a website design, if they have any questions about Squarespace or if they're having any difficulties. And then I also ask if they've seen good results from what we've created together. So usually after 30 days, my clients will have most likely seen a result in what's it called? In conversions.
Yeah.
I don't know where the word went then, but it went. So they'll end up being able to give me positive results that have come from us working together, which I can add to their testimonial. And then 6 months and 1 year after the project is just basically me checking in on them to see if they need anything else, because what I'll usually find during that time is that their business has grown and they now need different things designing, like business cards or social media branding, if they didn't already include that in the project. So it's basically just following up to provide good customer service, following up to add to their testimonial with real solid results that they've had from working with you, which can help potential clients seal the deal with you. And also just following up to see if they need to hire you for anything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, no problem. It was a good question, actually. So automation number 9 is invoice reminders. So basically with invoice reminders, what I used to do as well, I'm showing how totally unorganized I used to be. I would manually remind my clients if their final payment was due or if their payments were overdue. But the problem with that is that sometimes when life gets busy, we can forget that people's payments are due. And the other problem with that is that it kind of feels squirmish talking about money, especially if your client is very overdue with the payment and you've already reminded them a few times. When you have to keep doing that yourself, you can just feel quite gross doing it and talking about the money, even though you are entitled to that money, but it can just feel icky. So what you can do is set up automatic payment reminders in FreshBooks or Pancake app. I use Pancake for invoicing and estimating. And all you have to do is just set up an automation in there. So in Pancake, you can set up email reminders. And then when the client's payments are overdue, or if it's coming up anyway, you can just send those email reminders directly from whatever you use for invoicing. So it just saves you having to remember to do it. And it also saves you having to craft emails time and time again, reminding them that their payment is due. So so we've talked about automating. We've gone through, 9 automations that can just small automations that can help your business to run smoothly. But I also want to talk a bit about simplifying your business and why you should simplify it, because running a creative business can be hard, and we can sometimes make it harder on ourselves by being glued to our computers or glued to our phones all the time, and it's not good for us. It's not good for our families or our health. And to run a successful business, you have to distance yourself sometimes from your business and not spend all of your time in your business. And the reason I kind of wanted to add simplifying to this slideshow is because not too long ago, I kind of did find myself in that situation where I was just in my business a lot, like way too much. And I would find myself taking my phone to bed, being on social media all the time. Like I wouldn't even be able to sit through and watch like a full episode of something on Netflix without going on my phone throughout the program. So it's not good for you, not good for your health. And sometimes when you can put a bit of distance in between you and your business and spend some time away from your business and set boundaries in place, you'll actually be happier in your business. So I've got a few tips for simplifying. The first one is don't sleep with your phone. So this is one that I've recently implemented. I just basically bought a good old-fashioned alarm clock and just left the phone nowhere near the bed. So I just put it on my desk or something. And that way I don't feel the need to check my phone or check my emails first thing in the morning, which I know is something that a lot of business owners do. But I don't feel the need to do that. And I also know that I don't sleep with my phone. I don't end up staying up really late staring at the screen, because that's not healthy either. And it kind of makes your sleep patterns suffer, and it just doesn't help your health. So I've done that. That's a really, really great way to simplify. The second way is to delete social media apps from your phone, because if you're like me and you can kind of become addicted to Twitter or Pinterest or things like that, then deleting apps like that from your phone will save you a ton of time. So I deleted Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and I just kept Periscope. Periscope and Instagram, because obviously you can't really access them from a computer, so you kind of have to have them on your phone. But I deleted the ones that I didn't need on my phone, and it made a whole world of difference, because if I'm not by a computer, then I can't go on those social media sites. So it just means that I don't end up spending time that I should be spending with loved ones. I don't end up on my phone while I'm with them. So the third tip for simplifying is an app called Freedom. So you can visit the app's website at Freedom.to. It is the best app that I've discovered so far in 2016. And it's really, really amazing, because what it does is just for $24 a year, so it's not even a month, just $24 a year, you can get this app for your computer. And what it does is blocks any websites that you find distracting for a certain period of time during the day. So for me, when I'm meant to be designing for clients, or I'm meant to be writing blog posts or things like that, sometimes I can be distracted by things like Pinterest or Facebook. So what I did is I used this app recently to just block off most of my work day so that I can't access certain social media sites for a certain amount of time. And that just stops me that just kind of removes the distraction completely, so that I can give my full attention to the projects that I'm meant to be working on and not get distracted by things like Pinterest that I don't really need to be on because I use Board Booster. So that really, really helps, especially if you find that you're an easily distracted person. And And it just really helps if you've got a big project on, like if you're writing something big or you're creating a course and it needs a lot of attention from you, then definitely give this app a go. So the fourth tip here was to join Unroll Me, which again, you can reach at unroll.me if you just type that into your browser. And that's another site that I've been using recently, which has really helped me rein back my business and just simplify a bit more, because what it does is, if you're signed up to a lot of newsletters like I was at the beginning of January, sometimes I could also get distracted by reading other people's newsletters throughout the day instead of just getting on with tasks that are really important to me and my business, and things like client work, writing blog posts, anything that's really important and way more important than reading and consuming. I would get distracted by consuming people's newsletters. So what Unroll Me does is it makes it really, really easy for starters to unsubscribe with just one click from any newsletters that you don't want to read anymore or that just aren't serving you at the moment. And it also stops your newsletter subscriptions from coming in at different points during the day. So instead, it will just send you all of the newsletters in bulk at the time that you specify during the day. So for me, if I don't want newsletters to distract me during the day because I've got client work to get on with, then I can just set these newsletters to come in on the night time or in the evening so that I'm free to read them then and it's not taking time away from something more important. So the fifth tip is remove your business email from your phone, which was something really difficult. I don't know why, but for me, I just didn't want to do it at first. A friend suggested it to me and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But it really has helped because when I'm with family or I'm with friends or I'm meant to be giving someone my full attention, I'm not, I can't then go on my phone while I'm meant to be talking to them or listening to them, checking emails, or if I'm out on a day trip out, I don't have to worry about business because there's no way that I can access my emails anyway. So if you just remove the distraction completely, then you're not going to be tempted by it, if that makes sense. And the sixth tip is simplify your money mindset. So a question that I saw in my friend's blog, erineflynn.com, if you want to visit it, is how much money do you really need? It was in one of her recent blog posts. And I thought it was a really, really good question for creatives who are trying to simplify their businesses, because I think nowadays there's become this sort of popular mindset of we must have more, or we must pursue like six-figure businesses. I think that's kind of the trend at the moment, and it is cool. I mean, that's the right thing for some people, but for others it's not, because there are particularly a lot of freelancers and creative entrepreneurs who didn't start their own businesses to make six figures. They started their own businesses so that they could spend more time with their kids or so that they could spend more time doing something they love. And if you're not careful, your original goal for your business can be put to the back of your mind when you keep consuming other people's goals of making a lot of money or of getting to a really popular status and things like that. So I found it really helpful personally to just simplify my money mindset, and just when I start to get too involved in my business, to just ask myself, how much money do I really need? And what's more important to me? Is money more important or is time more important? Because to me, time's more important. To some people, money's more important, and that's fine. But if you're like me and your time is more important and your loved ones are more important at the end of the day, then just ask yourself this question when you start to find yourself going along with those trends of wanting more. And yeah, tip number 7, the final tip, is to just simplify your plans. So don't plan a year into the future. I always suggest, especially to my members of the Freelancers Club, to just try 90-day plans instead, because I spent maybe about 3.5 years trying all kinds of different business plan models. So I had a Word document that was just gathering dust on my laptop because I typed out an entire business plan in there and then I just never looked at it again because it was too complex. And then I tried planning a whole year's worth of goals and that kind of overwhelmed me. And instead I settled for trying 90-day plans, and it made the biggest difference in my business growth, because when you simplify your plans and you just focus on the next 90 days or even the next 30 days instead of the next 12 months, what that does is it just allows you to kind of breathe. It allows you to just focus on each small step at a time. So you don't have to contemplate the goals that you've got for the next 12 months, because you can just focus on this month's goals. So I found that's really, really helped me. And a resource that you can check out if you're interested in 90-day plans is The 12-Week Year, which is a book that it's the book that introduced me to 90-day plans, really. You can find it at 12weekyear.com, I think. The book's by Brian Morgan. And I really, really recommend having a look at that, or even just like going through the free course that's on the site, because it will teach you all about 90-day plans, and it will just help you to simplify the way you plan and the way you think through your goals. So yeah, so that's it from the slideshow. I'm just going to stop sharing.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks so much for sharing. Everyone in the comments is like so excited with all these tips and definitely resonates with them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me stop presenting. There we go.
Okay.
It's not just stuck on you. I know a lot of those apps I use myself. Basecamp I can vouch for. Unroll.me, Buffer, a lot of those ConvertKit. So I can vouch for that. They definitely do save you a lot of time. And I learned some new things though from you that I need to take away. Project templates and Basecamp. Why have I not done that? You know.
Oh, it saves so much time. Honestly, when you do it, you'll just be like, yes, finally, organization.
I have a few questions if you don't mind hanging around for a little bit answering.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is from Flowbot. It says, do you have a system that you keep that keeps you ahead when creating content?
Yeah, so when it comes to blog content and things like that, I've usually got my blog posts scheduled about 4 weeks ahead of time. So for the next 4 weeks, I've got blog posts that are already in Squarespace, scheduled and ready to be published. And what I try to do every month is just set aside one day in the month where I'll write the next month's blog posts. And then after that, if I haven't got them all done, that's okay. I'll just get them done here and there when I can and add blog post graphics to them and stuff. But it really does help if you can just set aside one day for content creation and then just schedule it all and do it all in that one day. I think the term is called batch days, where you have like set days for set tasks. So I have a day for social media scheduling. I have a day for writing and scheduling blog posts. And then once you've done that, you don't have to worry about writing a blog post like the day before you're meant to publish it, or writing it like an hour before you're meant to publish it, because you can just leave them be and just carry on with other things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm not as diligent about that as I should be, but I've done that before, and it definitely does help so much, especially also having blog post templates to pull from, just streamlining that whole process. So
it really does. It really does.
That's a great question. Here's another one from Abby. It says, how do you automate capturing emails for providing free download? Setting up free printables page, and I want to get people to subscribe to access that page. What plugins or services do you suggest?
Right, how do you automate? Okay, so what I do is you can use lead pages to just like create a box or an opt-in box or an opt-in button to capture people's email addresses, and you can use it in your blog posts and stuff as well. What was it about setting up free printables page? Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't use a plugin because I'm on Squarespace, but you can just use something like Lead Pages or something like ConvertKit or MailChimp. They all have their own opt-in boxes that you can install on your website. And then with ConvertKit, what happens when you want someone to join a page of freebies, for example, is you just add in the opt-in box to your site, and then inside ConvertKit itself, for that opt-in box, you'll just set up a message that goes straight to people who who sign up with the link to the page, and that's all you'd need to do for that, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. ConvertKit and Lead Pages are the best if you're going to have multiple downloads, not just one. And MailChimp, I feel like, is the best if you just have one main opt-in. You'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. If you've got one, stick to MailChimp. If you've got more than one opt-in freebie, then go with something like ConvertKit.
That's a great question.
It was really good. I think it's something that we overlook sometimes, but yeah.
It is. It takes a while to figure out on your own, too.
It does.
So I'm trying to find something related. Here we go.
Okay.
I'd love to hear about your experiences with systems like 17 Hats to streamline your process. I'm not sure if it'll fit with how I work with clients and break up projects for timing. Also, have you used project management system like Asana? And what does that look like for your interactions with clients?
Okay. I haven't used 17 Hats, although I've heard good things about it because you can handle it all from 17 Hats, can't you? You can do your invoicing, contracts, and questionnaires all from the one place. But I have set tools that I like to use, like Basecamp for project management and HelloSign for contracts and stuff. I don't mind using separate tools for that. But yeah, when it comes to a project management system, I use Basecamp. And what does that look like for interactions with clients? It's really, really simple and straightforward, really.
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up that portion. I do know I've heard a lot of great things about Asana as well, but I haven't used that myself because I haven't needed to with Basecamp.
Yeah, I haven't either, really. But Basecamp's pretty cool if you just want simplicity.
Okay, so what apps do you use to automate Twitter and Facebook? Do you have different ones other than what you mentioned with Buffer? Does CoSchedule also automate Twitter and Facebook?
Yeah, CoSchedule automates. I use it to automate Facebook and Twitter. What else does it automate? I don't really use it to automate anything else, but I'm not sure if it does Pinterest. I can't quite remember because I use Board Booster for that one. But yeah, CoSchedule pretty much does the same as Buffer.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So that one's answered. Let's see. A lot of these are similar questions, kind of asking the same thing about scheduling social media. Oh, here's a great one. Aside from canned email and autoresponders, how do you automate email communication? Is there something more I could implement?
Automate email communication. You could use Streak, which we spoke about briefly earlier on, which is a Gmail add-on. So I guess you'd have to be using Gmail for your business emails if you wanted to use Streak. But you could use that, and it's just it's a way to manage your emails and manage your processes all within Gmail itself. And you can do things like create canned emails, but they're a lot more organized if you create them in Streak instead of just in the Gmail's canned email section. And you can also do things like send emails, schedule emails to send at a later date. So I find that function's really helpful for if a client has emailed you, for instance, and you're sort of emailing back on an evening time, but you don't want your client to get into the habit of emailing you on evenings. What I'll do sometimes is I'll just write up the email and I'll just schedule it to send the next morning. So that way I've got the email done and sorted with if I was working by any chance on one evening anyway. But the client doesn't receive it until the next day, so they don't get into that evening communication habit.
Yeah, I think another thing that I've used a little bit of is in 17 Hats, they have what they call workflows. And for each project, you can create a workflow, and it times out the emails over different times and sends it to you first to make sure you're okay with sending it. But and it's kind of like canned responses, sounds similar to Streak in that you can schedule them at different times. But they're kind of like templates also. So when you create a new branding project, it comes up with all these template emails and reminds you to send those.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's another tool if you need that.
Yeah, that does sound interesting.
What's that?
That sounds really interesting.
Oh, Okay, let's see here. I think we kind of touched on everything else throughout the workshop.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, just rolling through all the questions here. I guess there's this one last question we can answer that says, I'd love to know how you organize your week to balance creating all of the content, client work, and managing all the tools. That's from Leah. And I've seen you touch on this a little bit, and it's really inspiring, like the organization side of me. So I'd love to hear you kind of just briefly touch on how you break that up.
Yeah, I organize my week by, I spend like 3 days on client work, so that's Monday to Friday. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, I do half days. So I usually spend like the half day on automation tasks, like setting up processes or creating content or working on products and things like that. But it's entirely up to you. I think each person has, I think that the same sort of schedule or weekly process is going to be different for each creative, really, because something that works for me might not work for somebody else and vice versa. But that's how I find at the moment I'm organizing my week. And it's worked pretty well for me so far because I haven't sort of had to spend some days doing client work and then stopping halfway through the day to suddenly carry on writing a book or something. So that's just how it works for me.
Yeah, I have a similar kind of setup. I think mine's a little bit looser, and it's just an ongoing refining process to figure out what works best for me, as Nesha said. But I'll do like bookkeeping every Friday. So I think it's good to have certain tasks that you want to make sure you hit weekly, that you have a day assigned to it. Even though that might just take me like 30 minutes or an hour, like I still have that every Friday. I'm supposed to do that. So I think that helps, even if it's just a little bit loose.
No, I like that. And funnily enough, I've got like set days for like content creation and social media scheduling and things, but I don't have a set day for bookkeeping. So I should really take a leaf from your book and really get on that, because that's the one thing that I find I'm quite scattered with. So
if I don't schedule it,
take that on board.
It won't get done. So
yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. So I'm going to have to take that on board, definitely.
Well, I think that kind of wraps up all the questions that are relevant to this topic. I think this is so great to kind of hear your process and what's helped your business kind of grow and also keep manageable, which is the main thing, and organized, something that makes you still be able to focus on client work, things that you love, without getting stuck in, keeping up with social media, things like that. So thank you so much for sharing all those tips and just organizing. Such a great slide share for us. And of course, it's very organized. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me as well. It was really fun.
All right, you guys, we'll see you next week for the next Lunch and Learn. Bye, Nesha.
Bye.